Cosmic by Frank Cottrell Boyce. An unscheduled diversion. When you look at the moon from Earth, it looks a bit smudgy. I mean, you know the smudges are mountains and so on, but really they just look like blotches. But from where I'm sitting, you can see they're mad, spiky storybook mountains. The surface is white as paper, and the shadows are sharp and definite. It's like looking at the map of an imaginary realm in a Warcraft manual. Massive mountains, deep valleys, empty plains. All it needs is a few trolls and dragons, and a big fancy compass. "What?" yelled Florida. "What is the moon doing there?" I said calmly, "Oh, orbiting the Earth, affecting the tides, stuff like that." It's important for a parent to stay calm in all eventualities. Inside my head, my panicky 12-year-old voice was screaming, "It's pulling us nearer and nearer. It's pulling us into orbit. That's what it's doing. We're going to be left circling the moon forever. What are you going to do?" The truth is, I had been hoping that when I got into the Dandelion there would be some brakes in the steering wheel and I'd be able to stop us, change direction, maybe do an intergalactic 3-point turn and drive us home. But there didn't seem to be any controls at all. Florida shrugged and said, "I suppose we'll just have to take a free return trajectory round the moon to bring us back." I said, "Sorry?" She said, like on Apollo 13? Calm dad voice, out loud. "Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. What you just said." Scared little boy voice inside. "What did she say? Is she saying there's a way out of this?" Florida plonked herself down on one of the bench seats and growled, "I hate it when this happens. When you think you're nearly home and then the bus goes off on some... what's it called? Trajectory? No, when you catch the 81, it comes right up to the flyover and you think, I'm nearly home, and then it goes off under the flyover, round the island and all the way back up to the 24-hour Tesco before it comes back to where it was meant to be when you were nearly home." "Oh, yeah." She crossed her arms and stared out of the window. She really did look like she was sitting on the number 81. I sat down next to her and said, "Yeah, trajectories, eh? Don't you hate them? How do they work, exactly?" And then she told me the whole story of Apollo 13, which is this. Apollo 13 was on its way to the moon when one of its oxygen tanks blew up. The crew climbed into the little tiny landing module and used it as a kind of life raft. Then they flew right round the back of the moon so that the moon's gravity would give them a bit of extra speed, and, by burning their remaining engine at the right time, broke their orbit and made it home to Earth. Obviously that's a summary. In Florida's version there was a lot about whether 13 really is an unlucky number and which Hollywood actors played the astronauts in the film version, Kevin Bacon and Tom Hanks by the way, and who those actors are married to now. While she was talking, the others must have noticed the open hatch in the floor of the command module. One by one they floated down into the Dandelion. The first one in was Hassan, who didn't seem to notice the moon at all. He spread himself out on one of the bench seats, saying, "It's much more comfortable down here." Samson too stared out of the window with his mouth open, until Florida said sarcastically, "Yes, it's the moon. We've got to go right round the back of it. Can you believe it?" "The moon? No one said anything about the moon." "It's a diversion," said Florida. "An unscheduled diversion." "But the moon? It's so far away." "Not anymore," said Florida. The real problem was Max. It wasn't the moon that bothered him, it was the Dandelion. "Our mission was to decouple this module to put it in orbit. We must do it now." I explained that we couldn't do it right this minute because we had a problem. "Not to release means we've failed. Failure is not an option." "We haven't failed. We just haven't succeeded yet. We'll press the green button when we can." "But Dr. Drax said..." "Dr. Drax didn't know." "She knows more than you do." "I am now going to press the green button," he said. I ran after him. Weightless running isn't exactly speedy. It felt like one of those dreams where you're trying to get away from mad dogs, but your feet are sort of stuck to the floor. In the end, I sort of toppled forward into an involuntary somersault, just caught him with my foot, and sent him spinning back towards the seats. I grabbed the hatch myself and said, "Listen, we've got a plan, and it's a plan about..." What was it about? Florida's going to tell you what it's about. Delegation, see? Very important with teenagers. "I haven't got any plan," said Florida. delegation, and affirmation. You've got a brilliant plan, Florida. About trajectories, remember? Oh, the free return trajectory, said Florida. Like on Apollo 13. You must remember Apollo 13. The brilliant failure, said Samson 2. The lunar mission that was supposedly abandoned because of a faulty oxygen tank. I didn't notice him saying supposedly at the time, but I certainly noticed it 10 minutes later. She explained the whole thing to them, about going round the back of the moon until we were facing the right way, and she pointed out that it was going to be easy for us. It was going to be a ride, in fact. On Apollo 13, all they had was this tiny module, and it was really cramped, and there wasn't enough oxygen or power. We've got this whole solar-powered dandelion, and it's got plenty of room and loads of food. So, it's a picnic, really. By comparison, the dandelion is meant for space travel, but not for re-entry. The command module is meant for re-entry, but not really for space travel. So we use the dandelion to get us back to Earth orbit. Then we all go back into the command module and use that to get back to Earth. Understand? Everyone said yes. What was there not to understand? But Max said, "Yes, I understand. And now I'm going to press the green button." What? Have you been listening to anything we've been saying? Yes, but I listened to Dr. Drax more. Anyway, you can't press the button, said Hassan, because it's my turn. And the two of them hurled themselves towards the hatch. I shouted, "No one is pressing the green button. We'll all be killed." Samson 2 said, "Of course we won't be killed. You don't believe we're really in space, surely?" Apologies. Everyone stopped and stared at him. "Of course we are not really in space. This is a trick Dr. Drax has played on us. If we open the door, we'll find that we're in the middle of Infinity Park, same as always. In fact, I'm going to open it now." He kicked his feet on the back of the seat and floated off towards the airlock. I was going to go after him when I realised I had to go after Max too. My brain tried to choose between being shot out of a spaceship and accelerating to death, or being set adrift forever and ever in a space ice cream van. In that horrible moment, I realised that the real danger wasn't the infinite vacuum of space or the 6 million possible flaws in the rocket. The real danger was the children. Remember, a teenager is barely in control of anything, not even his or her own body. You are in control of everything. If your teens are reacting irrationally or disproportionately to some little thing, it's up to you to try to work out what's really upsetting them. From Talk to Your Teen. Max was upset because he's very fixated on success. To him, being halfway to the moon in an ice cream van meant we were failures. He thought that if we jettisoned the dandelion, we'd be winners again. As for Samson 2, he was upset because he'd totally flipped out. Which is understandable. If I didn't have to look after the others, I'd flip out too. All I had to do to sort Max out was show him that getting ourselves home in one piece after all the problems we'd had would be an even greater achievement than just doing what Dr. Drax had told us to. So I said to him, "You know, Max, after all of our problems, getting home in one piece, that will be an even greater achievement than just doing everything that Dr. Drax said." He said, "All of our problems are Hassan's fault." "No," said Hassan, "they're all your fault. You pressed the wrong button, now I'm going to press the right one." "I didn't press any button, you did." "No, I didn't press any button, you did." I said, "I'm the daddy, and I decide who presses the buttons, and I have decided that whoever wins my game presses it, when I say so."